Hey, what's up everybody? Sean here, and today we're going to talk about the newest update and proposal on student loan forgiveness. Now, it seems like pretty much every single day there's some new bill, some new proposal, or some new rumor going on about how the government, lawmakers, policyholders, Senate, House, government, whatever, are aiming at helping us financially through this pandemic. Because let's face it, pretty much every single one of us has been affected one way or another through this pandemic. We've already discussed and talked about the $2,000 a month proposal for the next 6 months. We've also talked about the proposal about the $1,000 a month for the next 12 months or 1 year, and even proposals being pushed right now for getting free rent and mortgages for the next year. Now, if you haven't heard about this, haven't seen my videos, want more updates, make sure you check the videos I have in the description box below that talk about each one of those things. But today I want to talk about the newest update that is being pushed for student loan forgiveness. If you have been following along, if you have been checking up and reading online, watching videos and things, and you've probably heard about student loan forgiveness before, because this is not a new thing. Even back in March, we're talking mid-late March, there was already proposals being pushed by Congress and lawmakers for student loan forgiveness for all. The idea was that there's two different ones going on. Originally, the Senate Democrats proposed student loan forgiveness up to $10,000 for everybody. Meanwhile, the House Democrats were pushing for upwards of $30,000 student loan forgiveness. So they were going to have everybody have student loans, help those get forgiven to help aid in this process. And eventually what happened was those things kept getting pushed and pushed, and the White House and different people, the Republicans, kept pushing back. And as of now, they have settled on forgiving student loan interest right now for a certain amount of time. So right now we're not getting charged interest payments on our student loans. But they are continuing to push for student loan forgiveness for all. And it's going back and forth, $10,000, $30,000. Should all of it get pushed and be taken away? But in the midst of that, something else just came up the other day, and that is student loan forgiveness for frontline medical workers. Now, this, like I said, is a new proposal that just got announced here recently. We're going to talk about that really fast. This was done by Democratic lawmakers to help forgive student loans for frontline medical workers. It is sponsored by Representative Carolyn Maloney, and it is titled the Student Loan Forgiveness for Frontline Health Care Workers Act. So the idea behind this is that we need to take care of the frontline workers that are helping us get through this pandemic. Who is this? What does this do? It forgives all federal and private student loans for medical workers who are directly working and setting up and caring for patients who have COVID-19 or treating patients who may potentially have it. So we're not talking about medical doctors who, have nothing to do with COVID-19. We're talking about people who are treating patients, currently diagnosing and things, and who are in the front line, in the trenches of this COVID-19 pandemic. It also covers professionals who are, like I said, frontline doctors, nurses, aides, medical residents, interns, and technicians. It also includes researchers working on treatments, cures, and vaccines for COVID-19. Now, some interesting things on this one compared to the other student loan forgiveness is that there would be no cap on this one. So unlike the other student loan forgivenesses where it was like, only up to $10,000, only up to $30,000, this has no cap currently on the proposal. And what else is interesting, which I think also is really important, is that this will not be treated as taxable income. So, for instance, if you were to receive student loan forgiveness of $100,000, it would not go on your next year's tax return as income. And that's something I want to point out really fast. If you're a person with student loan debt looking at trying to get out of it, and right now, even before this, there's all kinds of pay-as-you-earn programs, different things like that. One of the things you really need to be careful of is that a lot of student loan forgivenesses have the caveat of, even when they forgive the loan, what they do though is that they tack that amount that they took off onto your income the next year for your tax returns, and you are going to pay taxes on that. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you decide to opt in for student loan forgiveness, and by the end of it, you work through and they forgive $30,000. Well, guess what? At the end of the year, you're going to be getting a tax form from the government stating that you earned an additional $30,000 that will be added on to whatever amount that you earned that year. And so now, instead of owing Sally Mae or Freddie Mac or whoever, you now owe the IRS your taxable rate So let's say you hit the 30% tax bracket, you're going to hit that 30% on that $30,000 that you're forgiven, or the $100,000 or however much. And you don't want to owe the IRS. That kind of sucks. But like I said, what's interesting about this and what's great about this is that it's not going to be counted as taxable income. So that is huge. This is completely forgiven. So why is it that they're pushing this? Representative Maloney said that she wants to make sure that all the frontline workers, the people who are in the trenches of COVID-19, are not left behind in the fact that if they were to get sick or they were to pass away in the midst of treating people, that their family members are not going to get stuck with a massive student loan bill, which is a fear of a lot of frontline workers right now in the medical industry. Is a lot of these people are just coming out of college or still have student loan debt, and they're thinking like, hey, you know, I make the primary source of income here. If I pass away and I have these student loan debts, you know, who's going to pay for this? How's this going to work? And so the idea is that these would be forgiven for all frontline workers so that no one would have to worry about, if they were to get sick or pass away, passing on that debt to anybody else. So what I want to do is I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on the student loan forgiveness? What do you think? Should it just be for frontline workers? What do you think about the no cap? What do you think about the no taxable income? But also, what do you think should be happening for people who are outside of the medical care industry? You know, people maybe like you and I who are not right in the field of the trenches. Should we be forgiven medical student, or not medical student loans, but student loans in general? Should we be forgiven everything? Should it just be a certain amount? Or should it just be like, hey, we should find some other way of compensating for people to help during this whole crisis? So well, it's interesting to see and find out what's going to go down during this whole process, but this is the newest push going on by Congress right now, of lawmakers. It's on the Democratic side. As of right now, it's been very difficult to get any of these things pushed because there is a pretty huge push on the Republican side in the White House for not having these things go through, and they're having to try to meet in the middle somewhere. So what do you think the likelihood is of this? Anyways, I hope this helped you out, give you a little more insight for the updates. I will continue to update you as best as I can when I hear more about these things. Like I said, we don't know specifically when this is going to get passed. We don't know if it's going to get passed or when the voting process is going to be. Same thing with the other ones. The free rent, that's still up in the air. The $2,000 a month for 6 months, $1,000 a month for up to a year. All these proposals are still up in the air. However, you know, from what I've been reading and researching is that there is some massive push and that the Republican side does not want these things being passed. And so we'll have to see if they come to an agreement in the middle where we don't get quite this much, but maybe a little bit less, or if it just completely gets shut down every single time and all we've got is all we got. But if you ask me, I'm pretty sure that we're going to have to get some form of help in it, to what we've already gotten. The $1,200 check was great, but you know, most people have said that this will only last them for the next month to 3 months. But you know, that's not enough to really help people get through this. More than likely, this pandemic is going to go on for quite some more time. And even as we begin to open the economy back up, not everybody's going to get their job back right away. Some people will, some people won't. Some people may struggle to find a job as we move forward, because let's face it, a lot of companies are getting a massive impact because of this, and they don't have the resources, they don't have the revenue coming in anymore to sustain as much employees as before. I mean, CEOs are getting laid off from airlines. We have you know, workers left and right getting laid off. So it's gonna be a crazy time, but let's see what happens. Anyways, make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe channel for me, and I will keep you updated. And most of all, stay safe, stay healthy, and I wish you the best in your journey, and let me know how I can help. Leave some comments below.